Hey there, how's it going? Hey, Sai. Let me know if you can hear me, Sai. I can't hear you right now. I can't hear you. Let's see. Let me see if there's a setting about muting. That doesn't look like everybody's muted, so I should be able to hear you. Yeah,
Hello?
yep, I can hear you, Hajma. Is that
Yeah, I can get you. I can hear you.
okay? Perfect.
Yeah, I can hear clearly.
Okay, good. I haven't heard you yet, Sai, so just letting you know. Hey there. We're going to begin started shortly. I'm just kind of admitting everybody into the meeting. So how's everyone doing today? Hey, Sai, I just want to check if I can hear you. I can hear you now, Sai. Yep. Yeah, if you're new to the group, we're just getting started. If you feel comfortable, feel free to maybe leave a little bit about yourself in the comments. Don't feel like you have to, but just let us know what type of data you work with or tools, things like that. Anything you feel free to share with us. So thank you for joining. We'll probably get started. I'm going to give it a little bit more time and just see if there's anybody else that's going to join. So we'll just give it a little bit more time. So just wait patiently while we get going here. Also, if you feel comfortable, feel free to let us know where you're joining from. We do have people all around the world, so it's nice just to kind of see where everybody's joining from too. Hey there, thanks for joining. We're just kind of giving it a little bit more time, just get everybody into the meeting, and then we'll get it kicked off here shortly. If you're new, if you feel comfortable, feel free to let us know a little bit about yourself, maybe in the chat. Tell us maybe what tools you work on, what type of data that you work with, or even just what you're hoping to get out of the training too. So thanks. We'll probably get started here in a few minutes. Okay, I'm gonna just kick it off. Again, like I said, we are recording this, so we will send this out maybe a few days after this. We typically post it in our Twitter community, the Data Lounge. So just kind of be looking there for the recording. So my name's Ben. I'm a co-host along with Sai. I'll be just kicking off and getting the meeting started, and then I'll be transitioning it over to Sai to get us started with our training content. We currently are in a series on Power BI. This is our, I believe, 5th session on Power BI. We're kind of wrapping things up. This is going to be our last session within this series of Power BI. Today's session is on visualization and reporting. We did get started with this last session actually, and we're just kind of finalizing it. Our first session, or kind of what we've gone through within the series, we went through the modeling basics, using Power Query to bring data into a data model. We went through measure creation, so using DAX to create basic measures within Power BI. And then we also focused on a specific group of measures related to time intelligence. And then today's session and the last one, we're starting to get into report visualization, and creating that and kind of making that look good for our report consumers. So again, thank you for joining us. A typical session or let's say, I'll probably start with our schedule actually. So we typically meet on Friday, or not Fridays, Saturdays. We are trying to shoot for like every 2 weeks. It will change a little bit. Our sessions are 90 minutes long. We do try to allocate about 40 minutes towards our training content, and then about 20 minutes towards our like Q&A and stuff like that. Yeah, if you're just joining, please put yourself on mute. We do encourage questions during the training content. If you're thinking about it, most likely someone else is. So it's good to kind of get that out there, and we can go into things in more detail and things like that. I do want to just remind everybody that we do have our Twitter space, also the Data Lounge. So if you're working on a project or you have questions, feel free to engage and post in that community. It's just a place for all of us to learn and kind of share and grow together too. So a lot of you are maybe new with Power BI. So I was just going to start with the basic kind of how to think about Power BI, what it is as a tool. And I really categorize it into 3 different kind of layers. So Power BI is a data modeling tool, but it starts with data extraction and collection, and it has a tool integrated actually into it called Power Query. That tool allows you to reach out to data sources, bring in data into your model, and then that's where you can start cleaning it, prepping it, and getting it ready for the middle layer, which is the data modeling layer. The data modeling layer is where you can actually start joining all of that data together with relationships. So you have like fact and dimension tables, then you can join them together, and then you can start creating your measures, which would be the building blocks of your reports and your visualization layer. And then that visualization layer, that's the 3rd layer. It's a really important layer because that's actually what your report consumers think of as Power BI. That's what they're interacting with. That's what they see as Power BI. But we know as developers that there's other layers too that take a lot of work: the data modeling, the curation, the transforming your data, cleaning your data, and things like that. But again, the visualization layer is what your report consumers are going to see and interact with. One second, I think I gotta admit one person in here. Okay. One second, everybody. Just making sure everybody's getting able to join. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. So just talking a little bit about how you can think about Power BI and talking about the 3 layers. So again, today we're going to be going through our visualization piece of it, creating our reports, things like that. So I wanted to start with why visualization is important. I really think about it in 3 different ways. So the first way is when you visualize data, you're actually making it simple and kind of drawing very easy context for the report consumer to look at and gain insights from. If you kind of think about data, if they're digging through the raw data, parsing through it, that takes a lot of time and effort. So what we're doing as developers is we are aggregating that data for them. We're kind of putting it into a simple way that they can understand and make those actionable, taking action off those insights very quickly. So that's one thing we're trying to do. We're trying to simplify the data in that visualization layer. I just kind of said it too. So the second point is when they're looking at that visualization layer, you want them to be able to draw conclusions very quickly. You don't want them sitting in that visualization layer trying to figure out what they need to look at. I think I read someplace that typically you're actually going to lose someone's attention within like 5 seconds after they look at that report. So you want to make sure that they can see the action or what they're supposed to look at right away. If you don't, they might move on, and they're not going to be making the decisions that they actually should be making. So that's another point. And the third thing is really those 2 things put together. You want to create the most positive experience for your report consumer. And a lot of that starts with that visualization layer. So you just want to make sure that that visualization layer looks good, that they can draw those insights very quickly. You also want to make sure that your data is not stale, it's accurate, because if they do have that negative experience with that visualization layer or with Power BI, your strategy for future like implementation, that's going to be more challenging. So you want to make sure that this layer is really sound, and again, I've been saying it a lot, but creates that positive experience for the for your report consumer. So that's probably just kind of the gist of it with Power BI. I'm going to pass it along to Sai now, and then we can jump into our training content. You can take it away, Sai.
Hey, thanks, man. Thanks for the great info. Quickly, we'll go through the report now. We'll start. Before I start, right, I would like to know how many of you are joining for the first time. Okay, Defil is joining for the first time. Great. Okay, Abhiram. Okay, great. I can see a lot of people are joining for the first time. No issue. Today we'll be going to the design part. You will get through it. If you need to learn about the before sessions, you can get the recording later. Okay. So I will quickly start the session now. Able to see my screen? I hope yes. Okay. So before I start, I would like to know what we have done in the last session. So you can see the screen, right? In the last session, we have asked the users like which page they likes most, this one or this one or this one. I again need the answer. Which one you like most in these three? Any new joiners? Which page do you like most in these three? Uh, all three pages are giving the same content for us, but which one looks good? The first one, Rebel. Great. Okay. Okay, fine. That is correct. So if you see this page, how the data you will see is first we will go through the quantity. We'll understand. Then sales. Then average selling price. Then our eyes goes to this one. Sales, quantity. Then you will go through category, product type, this one and this one. So our eyes pattern will be Z shape. You will read like this one. Again, you will come here, this one and this one. So you need to keep the most important part at the starting in this position. For example, you are reading newspaper or any book. How you will read? You won't read from last, right? You will read from the starting part. From here, you will start reading. You will read the first sentence. Then you will go to here. Then you will read like this, right? In the same way, when you are creating any Power BI report, you need to do in the same way. You need to keep the most important part at the top. So this is the most important thing. After going through this, the user will go like this and he will see what is there here. So this should be the main important thing. Quantity by store, this one they will check. Then they will go to here. Then like this. But what is the problem with the second one? Anyone? What is the problem with this one? If anyone comes and sees this report, where they look directly, it won't go. The eyes won't go on this quantity or sales, right? It will go somewhere here. But still, even myself, I don't know where to look in this one. It seems like content is there, but we don't know from where to start. Which one I need to understand? Again, if you see the screen, what is happening? The main content is there here, but I will start reading from here. I don't know the sales quantity, which one will work, this one which will work, and this one is here. I didn't get the proper, it doesn't make any sense to me from where I need to start. That's why
Hey, Sai, just checking in to see if you're still there. It looks like you might have froze. Hey, everyone, just 1 second while we try to get Sai back into the meeting. I'll see if I can
hello,
reach him. Yep, I can hear you, Sai.
able to hear me, right? Okay. Just a moment, I lost the network. I'm connecting to other one.
Okay, thank you. While he's doing that, maybe what kind of talking about the importance of where you place your visuals on your screen for Power BI. So I like to call it the Z pattern. I've read about it a little bit in books. I can't remember what exact book it is, but if you think about like how you read or we read books, we read top left down to the bottom right in a kind of a Z pattern. You go left to right, and then you go down, and then left to right again. And that's kind of the concept that Sai's getting at with the visualization, where you start with the most important piece of content that you want your report consumers to see in the top kind of left quadrant of your visual, and then you move left to right down that visual. With most the most sorry, I'm stumbling on my words, but the most popular thing you want them to see in the top left, and then kind of the least valuable KPIs while you're kind of moving to your right and down. And that's why this homepage is probably the best setup. It's not always going to work that way, but with for the most part, what researchers have found is you're going to draw the best content to put in the top left is going to be your most important insight that you want to draw your consumers' attention to. So if you're there, you can certainly take back over.
Yeah.
Take
Great.
over.
Thanks, Ben. So as Ben told, right, that is the concept here. And also when you create the report, the most important thing is not visualization. The first important thing is the data accuracy. So the user comes up and sees the report. If it looks beautiful, fine. But if the data doesn't make sense, it's no use, right? So the most important thing is the data should be accurate. So you need to do testing properly, and the data should be accurate. If the data is accurate, then your next step should be to make the report more aesthetic, and also it should be properly aligned. Okay, so that is what we discussed in the last session, and we have discussed about how to create this page and how to create field parameters and how to create this bookmark thing. These things we have discussed in the last session. Okay, today we will go through the second and third slides. So today we will build this page and this page. Okay, yeah, I will start with this page now.
Yeah, hi Sai.
Yeah, hi.
Sai, we stopped at bookmark level, Sai, only.
Yes, correct. So the first page we are going to, this is enough. Like this is the things we covered, right, in the last session.
Yeah, right, Sai.
Yeah. So today I will tell you about how to create these two pages. The remaining two pages.
Okay.
Okay, this page I will tell you.
Okay, Sai.
So first thing, we'll just go through these three things and then we'll start how to build this calendar. Okay, first thing, average daily quantity. In first session, you have seen we found total quantity and total sales. Now we need to understand what is the average daily quantity. How can we get that? Average daily quantity means, for example, we have sales for 30 days, right? If we have sales for 30 days, what is the average of those 30 days? But we need to do divided by 30. If we got total sales around 5 lakh, you will do 5 lakh by 30, right? In the same way, we'll write a measure for that. Average daily quantity. Okay. So I will go back to that demo one. Just a moment. New measure. Average daily quantity. Equal to divide. First we'll get total quantity. We have already built that, right? By what we need to get? Number of days we have sales, right? I will keep like calculate, distinct count, no blank, and calendar date. So what will happen now? If you keep like this, what will happen? We are taking total quantity. Okay, I will make it big so you can easily understand. Yeah. So total quantity divided by, we are telling how many days we are considering. But here one is catch is there. For example, in 30 days, I have sales only for 25 days. I don't have sales for 5 days. But if we are using this measure, what will happen? Total quantity by, in calendar date, we have all the dates, right? So it will divide by 30. For example, you have 5 lakh sales, that 5 lakh sales comes you in 25 days only. But in calendar date table, you have all the dates, right? So it will do 5 lakh by 30 days. But we need only for 25 days. Wherever sales happen, those days only consider and divide using that. That's why I will keep here one more thing. Discount count non-blank, comma, sales fact. I'm telling that table name. So now what will happen is we have connection between calendar table and the sales fact table, right? So that filter will pass from calendar table to sales fact. And if the date is available in sales fact, then only it will consider further count. Okay, so this is the measure. Now I will add that one here. Average daily count, daily quantity. In the same way, we'll find now for average daily sales. I will just copy the existing measure. New measure. In place of quantity, I will keep total sales. That's it, simple. I need to change here the measurement. I should not keep the same. Average daily sales. Now I will add this here. In the same way, average selling price. That is already we have. That will be total sales by total quantity. So I will add that measure here. Done. So these three top things completed. Now we'll come to the calendar visual, the main thing. So how it should work? Again, here we have one catch. It should work. For example, I have selected sales. It should show sales data. If I select quantity, it should show quantity for each day. So how to build this one? We'll see now. Before building this one, we need to have this toggle button, right? Without this toggle button, how can we know if you click on this? So we'll build first this toggle button, sales and quantity. So come here. I think we already built in the first session. Yeah, this one. I will just copy paste. Sales and quantity. And how we built this one in the first session? Using field parameter. Here you can go to modeling. I'll just show the steps how to create for the new people, like modeling, new parameter, fields, and you can just take sales and quantity. Or one more step, without this I will show you newly. Like for example, here I will go and I will create new table, enter data. I will give this sales, quantity, I will give something name, and I will keep some sort order. For that I will give order 1, 2. This one will tell like sales or quantity toggle. Load. Now one more table is creating. So why I have given that order, right? For example, right, in real-time scenario, you might get around 5 to 10. That time, if you want to start in proper order, you should have that order column. So now quantity sales is there. This one I will sort back. Sort descending order. Maybe first I want sales, then quantity. Okay. Then I will move this one here. Then change to, and we'll change to new slicer. And go to filter pane. Slicer settings. Single selection is fine. Force selection. So one thing should be selected. Fine. I will remove the title. Sales and quantity. And here currently by default 3 columns is there. I will change slicer layout. max rows, one row I need, two columns is enough. Currently it is three columns, that's why it is taking more space. Now fine, this is done. Now we need to build that first. For matrix, we'll create x-axis and y-axis we need to create. What we have in x-axis and y-axis? Here it should be week and this should be day name. You can see here, I'm selecting that one. Week and day name. Same thing we'll keep here. Week of year and day name. Simple. Everything just clicks only. It's very easy. Now I will change this to matrix. Then, yeah, this is fine. This is the way I need. Now we need to build what data we want here, right? How to get that one? Daily sales and daily quantity we need to show here. So for that, we'll write one measure. Okay. First we'll write for daily sales. Daily sales. Okay, we have already this measure, right? For example, I will keep that measure and show you how it looks like. Daily sales. Daily sales. Here we are showing only value, but what we need number also. Like for example, if you see here, we need to show what is the date and then 2508, what is the sales there. Between two spaces there. How to get this one? Go back there. We'll write one new measure. New measure. Daily sales for calendar. We'll keep something like that. Equal to calculate. For example, here what we need first. Here Sunday is a, here week of year one is a. Here I want to get what is the day name, day number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up to 30 there, right? Like that we need to get one. How to get that? We'll give calculate max of calendar dim date. If you give this, what it will do? It will find whatever the date required here. We'll build each line slowly. Now I will show you how it looks. I will remove this one. I will keep this one. You can see whatever date it is, it will show this date. Now I will keep here day of that one. Got it. Now we got this right. I will remove this subtotals and row totals. Now we need two spaces and then we need to show sales value, right? We need spaces now. For that, what we need to do? And unique char 10. This is like new line. It will break the line and it will come to the next line. Then I will add here repeat. This will here if you give 10, it will give 10 lines break. Here I am giving 2 means 2 lines break it will give. Then here I will add average daily sales. Now we'll see what it will return. Done. Value came now. And I would like to have dollar symbol before, right? Simply we can add here. And done. That's it. Okay, this one worked fine. Now in the same way I need for quantity, right? So that one also we'll just copy this one. New measure. Daily quantity for calendar. Same thing, just will remove In place of this, we'll keep quantity. Average daily quantity. Done. So now we have two measures. And the value should change based on this selection, right? Now we need to build one more measure. Click on new measure. Now our main thing is if you click on sales, it should show here that sales measure. If you click on quantity, it should show quantity measure, right? So that one we'll do now. Just a minute. Here I am giving if selected value, and what is that name we created? Sales toggle name, or we'll take a sales quantity order. Okay, instead of that, sorry, just a minute, I again lost the connection.
While Sai is kind of gaining his connection again there, I just wanted to call out that that measure that he's creating on that calendar is extremely cool with how you can kind of bring two different components together into that single kind of value that really you can really create a lot of dynamic measures then. There's a lot of different things you could do with that, and that's I see that once in a while, but that's the first time of like how he manipulated that I've seen before. So that was really cool to see. Any questions like from the group while he's getting back on the network?
Guys, if there is any questions, let us know. By the time I will connect from the system.
Okay, cool. Yeah, again, any questions while we're kind of waiting for Sai? Could be related to this, could be related to anything in tech too. Let me know. We can get a discussion going while we're kind of waiting here. How about for our next training topic? Does anybody have anything in particular that they're hoping to train on? Like, do you want to keep learning Power BI, or do you want to jump into SQL, Excel? Just kind of looking for training topics.
Hello, guys. Able to hear?
Yep, we can hear you, Sai.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. But would like to get the suggestions like what our next session could be like.
I'll say that again, Sai. I missed what you said.
No. I was looking from the people like what is the next session they are planning to be like, which one is they are interested in, whether it is Power BI or SQL.
Sai, my suggestion is the Power BI service. Sai, how we can schedule the schedule and services gateways. All topics are there, right?
Okay.
And service is at least 1 hour is better, right? And it is
Okay.
very useful, right, for real time. That's
Okay. Sure. We'll plan on that one.
yeah. Thank you. Sir.
Other than that, anyone SQL? Like we have here Ben with more than 15 to 20 years of experience in data side. So it's going to be very great if you can learn from the best. Okay, what is that next question?
Yeah, someone had a question in the chat, Sai, and they said, can you give a brief explanation on how to handle null values in Power BI?
How to handle?
Yep.
Sorry, the question I didn't get.
Yeah, it's in the chat. You probably can see it's the last question in the chat. So the question is, can you just give a brief explanation on how to handle null values in Power BI? And there's probably a lot of different ways you can do that. I can kind of try to tackle a swing at this. So like there's a lot of different layers, just kind of like how I explained at the beginning of the meeting, where there's 3 layers to Power BI, so that you can handle null values in your data source that's coming in. So depending on, let's say you have a column that has a person's ID or whatnot, but sometimes that's blank and you only care about the non-blank values. So you can handle like a null value within SQL query that's bringing your data into Power BI, just saying you putting like a where filter, so where this column is not null or blank or something like that. You can also use Power Query in that instance too. So if you suck the data into Power BI, then you have access to Power Query, and then you can transform your data further. You could put a filter on a column there to remove the null values or blank values out of Power BI, so out of your data source. The only thing that I do recommend doing it if you can do it within an SQL query before you get to Power Query. So that just takes away as you don't need as much processing power then. But if it's a small data source, it doesn't really matter. It's really where you feel more comfortable doing that. If you're not comfortable with like the SQL, then you can do it directly in Power Query is kind of my take on that. But then the other layer that you run into null values is within your measures within Power BI. So how do you handle those null values? A lot of times I use like a calculate, like let's say if we're summing a value, like total sales, but you only want to sum it for, let's see, I'm trying to give it a good example where like the store name isn't blank or whatever. So you can write calculate sum your table and column name, and then you can filter it by the store, the column name, and then where it doesn't equal blank would be how I would do it. I use the blank function that's in DAX, but you probably could write it where it doesn't equal like just a blank, like your double quotes or whatnot. So there's different ways you can handle the null value, and we can certainly probably go into like I just realized this might be for a future conversation too, but we could certainly go into like further trainings on that and even post within our data community ways to handle this too in Power BI in the next week or so too. But good question there.
Yeah, great. But for sure, the main recommendation is like mostly go with source. Don't go with Power BI. Just think of Power BI as a visualization tool. Even though it can do ETL part as well, but just to consider Power BI to make more stunning visuals. If you are using any SQL related databases, right, then whatever the cleaning or whatever manipulation you are planning to do, go with views or materialized view, or do something like, if you don't have an access to views, right, go with CTEs, do everything in SQL part and then load the data to here, because Power BI is best for visualization purpose than query things. But in recently, Fabric is available, right? Microsoft Fabric, but most of the companies are not getting that because it is bit expensive. But if you go with Fabric, right, you will have manipulation thing like advanced manipulation you can do using notebooks. There you can write the code like PySpark code you can write. That is more advanced. But as of now, if you are not using Microsoft Fabric, as of now, go with the source to do all the manipulation part.
Yeah.
Say hi.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Sai, I'm in outside actually. So I'm joined in mobile. A small
Okay.
question, Sai. Okay, in casually dates are start from like 01 month year, right? But I have a data set. They have given the month is the first, like for example 12 to 24. Like okay, they have given that to 12 24. Okay, I need to change the date format, Sai, in transform data. Uh, okay, is hi Benjamin, Benjamin, right?
Yeah, Ben.
Yeah, Benj. Hi Benj. Uh, Benj, could you please share your screen if possible?
I wasn't the one presenting the Power BI, so I don't have a Power BI desktop
Oh,
right now up on my screen.
Yeah.
I can certainly,
yeah, yeah.
so what I think we should do here is you can definitely ask the question and we can see if we can answer it like verbally. But if not, maybe direct message us and we can kind of take it off the side and then try to answer it during the week or like later this weekend. I'm hoping, Sai, if you do have the ability to jump back into the report visual, maybe we can kind of continue down that path. But these are great questions. And what I would do is, how about like we ask these in the data lounge and we can certainly like tackle these questions. And then even our next training session, we can get back into these questions too. Maybe we can just have a training session where we just answer the group's questions and kind of work through them. But today's focus is on this report visual. So I want to try to keep us on topic on that. So
Yeah, okay.
yes, are you able to share your screen again, or are you still having challenges with that?
Yeah, a lot of issues like suddenly this has got interrupted, like system getting shut down directly.
Okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, so maybe unfortunately, maybe what we can do is pivot and try to actually answer your question there about the date. It sounded like you were talking about transforming your date in Power BI. Could you add maybe a little more context so I can understand how you're trying to transform it? I believe that was the Calva.
I
That was
think
your.
his issue is like first day is coming, then month is coming, and year is coming. Maybe day and month he need to reverse. Is
Yeah,
it
yes,
correct?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, that one I think it's directly possible, right? Even if it is not possible, like you can use one example, column from examples option there, right? Columns from examples. If you go
Okay.
to the Power BI desktop and if you open Power Query, there you will see one option on top. You go to add column page and left side you will get column from examples. And if you give type first one or two things, it will directly give to everything.
Okay.
Yeah. Even if it is not working, let me know. We can connect and do later.
Yeah, that's cool, sir.
So if anyone have, I think my system is getting trouble. Like it is getting shut down whenever I start. Right, within a minute, it is getting shut down. Even I'm not sure what is happening. But by the time we can have questions, if still my system is going on like this, we can wind up the call after all the questions. We can take this as a question session to discuss about that. Anyone?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Generally, how to clean a messy data set. Ben, would you like to take that?
Yeah, I can take that. So I interpret that not necessarily as like a messy Power BI data set. I take that as like a messy source is how I'm going to answer that question. So man, maybe I'll answer it like how I typically do like an evaluation of a source too. What I start, how I start and all that good stuff. So what I start with is the problem I'm actually trying to solve. So for example, let's say I want total sales for, let's see, of a store or a group of stores. I have their product information, what they're selling, all that good stuff. Maybe their address or their location. And then maybe even it gets down to customers within those stores. But let's say the data source for that has 100 columns. What I personally would start with is locating the columns that I'm looking for my problem and not necessarily focusing on those 100 columns. I just want to make sure that I'm focusing my data set on the specific columns for my problem. And then I'm not going to lose or stress out about those other 90 columns that aren't answering the question. So then a lot of times I'm working with SQL or SQL, either in BigQuery or SQL Server, even Oracle. So I'll start with looking at like the table definition. So, well, I guess I'll start with like the columns and stuff. What exists, and I'll pick my columns or whatnot. I'll look at the top 10 rows to kind of get a sense of what data types I'm working with and what's all contained within that SQL query or within that table that I'm using SQL to access. And then I'll start looking at, I'll do like distinct counts over the column or distinct columns over the columns or distinct values. So I can kind of start seeing what are in those values. Is anything missing? For example, if I was looking for a customer, I would make sure that, most of the majority of the rows have customer ID on them. If I'm trying to do something at the customer level to solve my problem and the customer ID is missing from 50% of the rows, that data source isn't going to work. So I'm going to have to figure out how to get that customer ID on there. Or if I need to pair maybe customer ID with some personal information about that customer, like where they're from, then I start looking for maybe dimensional tables or how to curate that type of information for that customer. So I can start joining it together, but then I have to evaluate that source too and just make sure all of that data is kind of meets my needs for that too. Yeah, so again, like what I'm typically working with are tables that exist in databases. But I know there's another aspect of this is like raw data coming from like CSV files and things like that. So I would first evaluate, if it's coming from a CSV file or Excel or that type of data source, what's the format of that file? Like, is it in a format that I can consume? Is there missing data from that file? Or the column headers all in the same row? Does it have column headers? Is the format for dates all the same, or am I, what am I missing? I just kind of I step through all that process. Yeah, I know it's kind of a general answer to that question, but there's a lot you can do with data cleaning, and it really is dependent on like your data source. You know, like what are you working with? So good question though, Raphael. I think that what I hear is 80% of your time in working within this industry, within data analytics, is cleaning your data, and then the 20% is doing your visualization and actually adding the value. What I tried to do is create a pipeline to clean my data, you know, up front, so then I don't have to put a lot of effort into that 80% of, you know, cleaning the data. I really try to automate that process, either with like an ETL package or Python, stuff like that, that can understand what's missing and transform it and get it ready for you. So then you can kind of flip the switch and then have 80% of your time actually spent on your data analytics, where that's where you're going to actually add value to your customer. And then 20% on the curation and setting up that automation of the data cleaning. Yeah. Does that answer your question, or did any other questions stem from that? How about anything else? Any other topics that anyone is interested in talking through?
Yeah, and also, right, by the time I will share my screen, we'll see like if this one works fine, right? I will explain you the concepts, like without going through in detail building again, as we don't have much time. I will show you how we build this one. Okay, is it fine then?
Yep, I can see your screen, Sai.
Okay. Okay. So as I told, right, we have kept day name and week of year, right? Then we are building this daily. I will show you that measure, how we build that one. If you see this one, right, I created one field parameter using modeling new field parameter. I created one field parameter. There we have, before we created two measures, right, daily sales and daily quantity. That one, I kept in fields. For example, I clicked on fields, then I copied daily sales, then I daily quantity. Those two I copied here and clicked on create, and I clicked on add slicer to this page. By that way, I created the sales and quantity, and this daily, this field parameter is there, right? That one I added here. Directly it will come. So how it will work? Using field parameter, daily sales and daily quantity. So this daily sales will have what measure? This one, whatever we wrote before, right? That will be available. And daily quantity will have this measure. That's how it works. In the same way, here you can see, right, sales and quantity. This is simple total sales and total quantity we added, and this is the scatter plot. Okay, so this page I need to explain. It will take much time, but my system I will see whether it supports or not. Okay. Yeah, this is the main measure. If you see, right, here I created one, you can see modeling, new parameter. This time we have went with numeric range. So how it will work? I clicked on numeric range. I will give some name here, numeric range. Here I will give some name. Then I will give God. Sorry. Okay, great. I think it's not possible. Again, my system got stuck.
Did it freeze up again, Sai?
Yes.
Okay.
This is the first time. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So what we'll do, everyone, is we apologize about the system, but what we'll do is our next training, we'll finish this one up. We did have 90 minutes for this meeting. So if we do want to go through any more questions, we can certainly do that. I see Calva did provide his date format of what he's trying to do. So he's going from 02/31/2024 to 31/02/2024. And again, like anything in data, there's probably a lot of different ways to do that. Sai was kind of talking about a way in Power Query to use an example or you can use the, I can't remember the technical term, so you might have to help me, but the column as an example. But you could also use like split the column by the hyphen, and then that would separate your numbers around, and then you could join them back together to get them back to the format that you want. I was gonna actually use ChatGPT really quick and see what that would say too. Let me check really quick with ChatGPT.
It's definitely there will be custom column available. By using M code, we can do that one.
Okay.
There are a lot of ways, Anil, for that one.
Yeah, okay, sir. We'll check it tomorrow.
You can try these three things. One is using custom column using M code. Another thing is from column from examples. Another way is whatever Ben told, right? You can split the date and month from that, and you can rearrange and match that one.
Okay. I tried it actually, sir, but it coming to the error. That's why my question. That's why.
Its error means before it should be in date format. If it is not in date format and if it is in text format, might be it is giving an error. Maybe tomorrow morning we can connect and we can solve that issue.
Yeah, okay, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions? And also let us know like what is the next session plan is like along with Power BI the pending session, and also what we are going to take, whether it is Power BI service or you want us to start SQL part.
We did get one comment about SQL for an upcoming training. So I'm hearing SQL, Power BI too. Let's see.
I think
probably-
first we know. I think first we need to know how can we schedule data refresh and all. So, and gateways. Gateways is also a topic is there, right?
Okay,
Would
sure.
be, it would be
We'll cover
helpful,
that.
right?
Okay, so I hear SQL, I hear even data cleaning, and then schedule refreshes within the Power BI. So we'll take that into consideration on future trainings for sure.
Yes, Raphael, that is correct. If it is coming from the same SQL source, just do the ETL pipeline and do the cleaning process, then bring the data, clean data to Power BI. From whatever I understand, right, if you go with around 10 million or around 20 or 30 million rows of data, sometimes in some organizations, right, we have huge millions of data. And also, if you have columns around 20 or 30 columns, right, in that case, if you are trying to do any merging operations, or if you are doing any left join, those things in Power BI, right, it won't be that much faster when compared to the data sources like SQL databases. That is why I can say if you have huge data, the best way is to do in SQL compared to the Power BI. Power BI can handle, but up to the medium amount of data only. If you have less data, fine, directly you can do in Power BI. But the preferable way is do it in source itself. Is it clear, Rafi?
Yeah, I liked what I was going to add to that side because I really liked how you start talking about the millions of rows, and when you get a lot of rows in Power BI, millions upon millions, 10 millions, things like that, transformations take a lot longer. So like, for example, the business I worked for, we did a lot of transformations first in Power BI. We didn't have an ETL solution. Power BI really was our ETL solution, but we started getting to the point where our Power BI models were slowing down because we were trying to do too many transformations in them, and the amount of data was too high. It was probably in the 5 million to 10 million rows for some of our tables, but we were doing pretty intensive transformations. So what that led us to do is move our business requirements and logic that was in Power BI, and we moved it into an ETL solution where those transformations are happening with a tool that is meant for that. And then we control the time of day when those transformations happen. And then they get inserted into a table that is in a SQL Server database. And you can kind of think of that table as like a flat table then. So then when you're consuming that flat table into Power BI, you don't need as many joins as you potentially had when you're doing that in Power BI itself. And then the speed of that data being able to be consumed into Power BI then is a lot faster. And I think we've mentioned this in previous trainings too, is like, you do have to take into consideration, or one thing to take into consideration is Power BI is it uses like its compression is vertical down a column. So the more distinct values that you have in your columns, the harder Power BI has to work to, the more resources it takes up on Power BI. So you want to really take into consideration, like, what columns do you actually need in your Power BI? And if you have data that is very unique, like a date and time, I would separate out that column. So there's a date field and a time field, not date and time, because date and time is really unique. But if you separate out date and times into two specific fields, that actually will allow more resources in Power BI, because then you don't have as many unique values. And then if you have like just fields that you're just not using, I'd get rid of those. Unique ID columns that you don't use, get rid of those, because they're going to consume a lot of resources.
For sure, that will be great bottleneck. Like, we'll be having the most of the people new to this domain, right? What used to do is, for example, you have in SQL around 30 columns, but for your report, you need only 5 columns. But we used to get all the columns and do some transformations in Power Query. But what is the need of having 30 columns in Power Query? It will make our report slow. So whatever the columns really required for you, just get those columns only into the Power BI part. Yeah, that is very important.
Kalva had another question in chat. It's saying real time. So for real time, which mode should we mainly use, import or direct query, and the major differences between them? Do you want to talk? Do you want to take the first swing at it, Sai, or do you want me to talk about it?
From my point, right? I think from past 1 year, I used to direct query mode only one time. Most of the time, I used to go with import mode. The reason is, whatever reports I was building are more complex reports, and for these reports, direct query doesn't support lot of functions, time intelligence functions, and few functions direct query won't support. And also the users which I am working, right, they want the data fastly. They want to see the data quickly. Whenever they open the report, right, it should not rotate for 1 minute or 30 seconds like that. They want within 5 seconds. In that case, if I go with the direct query, it won't support me, because if you go with in direct mode, every time whatever visuals are there, it need to go and hit the source and again come back with the output. It is time consuming. Even though you will get the data directly, it is totally time consuming one, right? So it's based on your user request. For example, in your scenario, if user is okay, if it delays in time, but he needs real time, then you can go with direct query. Otherwise, I can say if the report should be faster and should have involved complex logic, then I can say you need to go with import mode only. What do you say, Ben?
Yeah, from my experience, and so I think we actually had a conversation
Correct.
about this before, but from my experience, direct query doesn't work. If you don't have to use direct query, don't use direct query. If you do need real time, that's understandable. I would try to limit your rows as much as possible if you're going to have to use direct query, because a lot of times your performance on the reports are going to be poor with direct query. There are ways to get around that a little bit. What I have done is use, so right now, like in the Power BI service, I think if you have a premium account, it could be even just a regular pro license to, you can refresh every 30 minutes. But you can actually leverage Power Automate, which is one of the Power tools that Microsoft offers, and you can actually set a refresh schedule that's a lot shorter than 30-minute time lanes, and you can refresh it every 15 minutes throughout the day or throughout like a subset of the day. And then that can get you close to real time where it's refreshing the data every 15 minutes. You just have to ensure that your refresh times are small though. That data set has to be able to refresh within like 5 minutes. If let's say if you're going to do like a 15-minute interval on your refreshes throughout the day. You also have to kind of take into consideration if you have a lot of other models refreshing on your service. If you do, that small model that only takes 5 minutes actually consumes a lot of resources throughout the day because you're refreshing it, 40 to 50 times a day if you're doing every 15 minutes. So those are like little things that you kind of have to take into consideration with that. But ultimately, I think what I'm saying is like you potentially could get around that with a Power Automate and having it refresh every 15 minutes. So.
Yeah, and as you mentioned the point Power Automate, right? I have one point to add. It's very good to learn Power Automate as well. The reason is, for example, you have two data sets, or for example, you have data flow and data set, and you want a chain of refreshes. Like first, once data flow is completed, then directly start refresh with the data set. In that cases, you cannot do directly with Power BI. In that case, if you use Power Automate, right, you can keep sequence of steps like first refresh the data flow. If data flow is completed, then start with this report. If this is success, send the mail to the specific person. So these are all things you can do in Power Automate. Yeah.
There's another question down there that asks, can you load an Excel into SQL automatically? I can show that right now if everybody wants to see that. Here, I'll share my screen. Actually, 1 second. I'm gonna get everything kind of pulled up before I share it. So just
Sure.
give me 1 second while I pull up the tools that I need for this. So I'm going to use SQL Server Management Studio, and I think it's SQL Express on my computer, which is just a very small scale. It's a free SQL database, so anybody can download it. I'm just trying to find a file really quick that I can import. One second. Okay. Sorry, I'm going to save it I'm going to do a CSV file too, just to give you a heads up on this. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. And then okay. Let me know if you can see my screen. So like I was saying, I'm using SQL Server Management Studio here. I have
Yes,
a SQL. Okay, thanks. I have the SQL Express database that you can download for free. This database, I think you can have up to 10 gigabytes of data in it. So it's not like a large scale database, but you can get a decent amount of data in this. So then the question was, can you download or upload data into this database from Excel automatically? So you can do that through SSMS. You can actually do it through Visual Studio as well, but And Visual Studio, you can create something called you can use SQL Server Integration Services and create a DTSX file that does a bunch of transformations too. So if you wanted to do something more complex, you can certainly use that. But you can actually just go into, so I'm selecting my database here. This is just a really small database. It just has some stuff in it. So I can select my database. I can go to tasks, and then I can import, I'm just going to say data. And then once I have this screen, this is kind of a setup wizard for walking me through my import. I'm going to do a flat file source. That would be like my CSV. Then I can browse for that CSV file. Let's see here. I have to adjust to CSV here. I just made a really quick one, but your CSVs probably will be a lot different than this. So it just has names and ages on here. So this is just kind of your setup wizard of your data source. Excuse me, sorry. And then I can pick, so now this is my destination. So where am I going to send this? So I'm going to send this to a SQL Server database. Let's see. I don't like that one. Let me try to see if I can find my other one. So I'm using the Microsoft connector here. It already pre-populates my database because I'm in this database, so it knows where it's going to send it to. I can say next. Now this is like where I can put my table name that I want to do. So I can say Ben test 2.8. And then if I need to edit the mappings, I can come in here and see my columns that's being picked up on that CSV file or Excel. This would work with Excel too, but I think you might need analysis services on your computer, I believe, or something like some type of program on your computer to do Excel. That's fine. So then I can go next. Next, I'm just kind of flipping through here now. Now this is just your operation and I get it a success. So then I can come in here and find that table. Hopefully I remember what I called it. And then I can do I'm just looking at this table now to see what's in it. And we can see my 3 rows are populated in it. So that's, again, how you would take data from Excel and put it into SQL Server. And in my opinion, that like having it in SQL Server allows you to do a lot more with that data. Now you can start joining stuff together. You can have consume multiple Excel files that have data sources, but maybe it's related in a sense. So then that makes it more portable, I guess you could say, when you get it to Power BI. So then you can actually consume that data into Power BI, and then you can leverage joins and all that good stuff out of your database then. So any questions with that? I think really good question. A couple of takeaways that I have is I really think what's kind of missing in the tech world, or maybe where people should try to get to, is end-to-end solutions, especially if you're working with Power BI. And that could be a very good resume kind of builder for someone too, is let's say that solution right there, you would typically need a data engineer to do your ETL, maybe a database architect, a Power BI developer, and then even a Power BI report creator. Some businesses handle stuff that way, but if you can come in there and say, hey, I can do my own ETL, I can do my own data modeling, I can do my own report creation, that's going to be eye-opening for a business, because they know that they don't have to hire 5 different people to do the solution. They can hire one person, and that just makes you more valuable to them, in my opinion. So it's I like to think of things in end-to-end solutions, because that makes you more productive and more valuable. So any other questions out there? How about you, Sai? Do you got any thoughts or any wisdom you want to share with
No, Ben,
everybody?
it's clear. Like you have come up very quickly with the demo. It's nice.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
yeah.
sounds like
So
there's a
from
question.
yeah, correct.
There's a
You can go.
question. Yeah. Feel free to ask your question, Badrin.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Uh, um, Thank you for your the video for answering my question. So, what I was trying to ask was that with this the method the process you just showed me right now, if data is being updated in Excel, will it automatically update in SQL Server?
Let's see. Could you say, I didn't catch the second part of that question. Could you ask it one more time? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So what I was saying was that with what you just showed me, can when the data is updated, maybe we add two more rows to the Excel file, will it
Yeah.
update directly on SQL?
No, I can. So not with what I just showed you. So what I showed you was more of like a one-time thing. Let me, excuse me. I'll share my screen one more time and show you what you would need to, because like what you're looking at is like an automated solution then of how to you're really creating an ETL solution is kind of like the idea behind this. An ETL solution is something that can pick up a data source, transform it, and then move it into a SQL Server database. But then that solution you want to be able to schedule. So here, let me share again, and I'll kind of talk through that in a sense. I probably won't be able to go into too deep of this, but I'll show you and try to talk through what I can with this. So I was telling you about Visual Studio and SSIS packages, and that this is what this actually really is. So essentially, I'm creating like SQL tasks in this tool. These create a DTSX file, which is essentially your ETL package. But if we look at this, we can see that this creates a table, Ben test table, and then it has a data flow. This is a data flow is where it's going to grab the data from the data source. We can see that it's grabbing, this data flow is actually pointing at another SQL Server data table, but you could set this up so it grabs it from that same Excel workbook then that you're talking about, and then it inserts it into this target table, more or less. This is just a really simple like ETL to show you that. You can get really more complex with that. But essentially what this does then is once I have this DTSX file that takes data from a source, moves it into a target table within my database. So back here, like if it moved it into one of these tables, then you have that automated ETL solution. You just have to be able to schedule that then. So with SQL Express, typically you can have agent jobs down here with higher versions of SQL Server, and those agent jobs you can actually schedule, and you could schedule your DTSX files or your ETL packages. So you could have those run once in the morning or multiple times during the day, and it would pick up that new data. But with SQL Express, you don't have that agent job. It just doesn't have that feature in it because this is a lower version of it. But you could actually use Task Scheduler on your computer to call to create a task that actually kicks off your DTSX files for you. And then you can set your triggers, you can set your like actions. So you can say like, hey, I want this to happen at every day at this time or multiple times during the day. And then you could set this up so it's calling those DTSX files. So that's a way to automate, getting close to like what you're talking about of when you add rows to that Excel document, you can schedule your SSIS package or your ETL solution to pick up those new rows on here then. So this is kind of a way to do that, I guess, with limited tools. If you're working for a business, a lot of times they'll have better resources or better scheduling tools and stuff like that. So, but this is a way, if you're doing personal projects and don't have all of that stuff, you can still get it done on your personal computer with really free tools. Yeah, good question. I really love that. That's you start getting into your end-to-end solutions, because then you can connect. That's fully automated. You don't have to touch stuff, and then that moves it into Power BI then too, and then you can report on it, and you start scheduling your Power BI models, and then you're really not touching your data at all. You know, that's what I love doing, is kind of building solutions like that. Cool. Just kind of looking through notes. Any other questions out there?
Seems no.
Okay. Yeah, sorry we had to pivot today, but I feel like we got good questions and good content still. But again, apologize about pivoting there. Cool. All right. Well, I think that's probably it for today's session. I can still get the recording out so people can see what we went through, at least up to the point, and then you can also see the questions that we answered in our conversations and things like that. I think that's still beneficial. So.
Sure. I think we started with one thing, but I feel like we have learned a lot of things in this session, I guess. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
I think, yeah, in the same way, we can have some meetings, like maybe bi-weekly. We can have only question and answer sessions also we can start.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of value in conversations like these, and really just organically, like, kind of working through things. And you kind of, like, we don't know everything, other people can share too, and we can all grow, you know, with how we work with data, because you'll find out, and you probably already have, there's so many different ways that you can do the same thing, and people come from different backgrounds and experiences, and sharing that, then we can as a group start creating that repository of knowledge that we can use. And the faster you get that experience, the faster that you can use that experience in different scenarios that you come across. So I think it's a good, those organic conversations are really good to kind of uncover that, and how it also gets into like how people think through problems or think through what they're working on, because even just trying to understand that is a big component of data analytics. Is your frameworks of problem solving are very, very important, because that helps you be more productive, make sure that you think through everything, you know, things like that. So there's a lot of different aspects that we can try to cover within these meetings. So.
Sure. Correct. Yeah. Any resources for learning that? So you can use Microsoft itself. Like for each one, Microsoft is giving proper thing. And also, if you are going through one measure, for example, if you take use relationship or whatever the measure, you first go through the Microsoft documentation. Then go to, if you didn't understood, right, then go and search in YouTube. You will get few things. Then you need to try in the project. Until you try in the project, you will never get any one DAX function also. Even simple things, SumX feels like difficult if you just learn theoretically. For each DAX function, if you try to use some way, then only you will get to know how the DAX function will works. In Power BI, right, few DAX functions will be there. Like you will use calculate, just say something, but it will work fine with one dimension, but it won't work fine with another dimension. Okay, so these things you will cover only if you start doing the projects in real time projects, right? You need to understand how filter context works. These things you will get to know once. So that's why you need to suppose you are learning one function, go and test it out. Just try, get some dummy data and try on that one.
I can answer this a little bit too. I'm going to share my screen again.
Sure.
I think I've posted this. Let's see. I'm trying to find what page it's on. One second while I get there. Make sure I'm sharing the right one. Does everybody? Am I on SQL BI? Can you see that on my screen? Want to let me know if you can see my
Yes,
screen?
able to see. Able to see.
Okay. Yeah, this is my favorite website for DAX and learning DAX, SQL BI. What I did, because DAX, there's so many layers to DAX, and it can be easy for some things, but it can be really complex to understand all of the different rules. This website, like every night I'd read 1 or 2 articles for like 3 or 4 months. And then that helped me learn DAX. I'll at least get a better understanding of DAX. Very, very helpful. They have tons of articles. They have tons of basic things and stuff like that. So I would recommend this website a lot. But what Sai was saying too, is being the having real world experience and actually working through a project is probably the most important thing to do, and get comfortable with DAX. But this website would really give you a good base for, at least just from like a logical standpoint of how to work with DAX. So we're getting close to our end time.
Yeah.
We have 4 minutes left. So any last questions to kind of wrap it up? Okay. All right. Well, so I'm gonna probably close the session. It was great having you all. Thank you for listening to us. And again, if you have any topics for our next one, please just let us know. You can direct message us or even post it on our Twitter space, the Data Lounge, and we can use that as ways to kind of grab what our group is looking for content. So, all right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And apologies for not going on the track. Anyhow, we got some clarity on the other topics, right? Thank you all.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
All right. Talk to everybody later.